Hi guys, it's Weighted, and today we're going to do something that I've been wanting to do for myself for quite a while, and that is we're going to make a duct tape book cover. Now this is not the one we're going to be making. This is the one I need to replace, but I wanted to put it on to show you that it has a flaw in it, okay? And that is that when I open my book, as long as I'm holding it, it's okay. But if I'm not careful, that's what happens. It slips out of the book cover. So the inside flap, this was not deep enough. So, and I've pretty much worn this book cover out because you can see there it's ripping. So I thought I would go ahead and make another one. And I will be using these two colors of duct tape. We're going to create a fabric first, and what I do, I'm very precise about this. You can do this for any kind of book. I lay my book down, and this is just a standard paperback, and I'm going to go about 1 square above the height of the book to about 1 square or maybe 2 below, because I'm going to trim everything up. Okay, that's good. So once I have one piece, I'm going to lay several strips down, and this is going to be the outside of my book cover, the pretty frou-frou duct tape, and I'm overlapping it just a little bit. And bringing it down and cutting it. And I don't, at this point, I'm not worried about it being square. I do want it not wrinkled. Check at this point, again, very precise. I've got a nice thick paperback, and I just sort of lay it down, flip it over, roll it. That's good. So now I'm done with the decorative, and I'm going to put about 3 layers of this green duct tape on either side. Now that's overkill, but since my last one I did not have enough depth in here, I want to make it so that I can make sure I've got the depth, and I can cut back whatever is too much. And I'm just running my thumb over the seams, pressing them down. It may come apart when I pull it up. I'm not worried about that, because again, this does not have to be particularly strong. What we have done is we have made the outside of the book cover. So I'm going to peel it up, and that's what I meant. You couldn't see that, but it did come apart. So there we go, gently. And if there's a tricky part to making this next step is really kind of it, because duct tape is sticky and it wants to stick. So very carefully peel it back. Don't let it touch anything. And then lay it down. And now I've got to unstick my fingers from it, which is fun. Okay, so what I will do now, I laid the outside of the book, the tape pieces, vertically. So the next pieces, the inside, are going to go horizontally, and that gives it more strength. But you want to be careful with this step, because you don't want it to wrinkle. So I lay down, and I'm just sort of, I'm not worried if I'm over a little bit. I lay it down, and then I smooth it. And I try not to get too far ahead of myself. I try not to touch the rest of it. And I just keep going till I get to the end. Now if it's not exactly square, it's okay. Again, I made it big and we're going to trim. Okay, so that's the first one, and we're going to do that all the way down. I'm going to pull this so it's a little bit more on my... Alright, so we know it's too big. And that's intentional. That's so we can trim it up. What we want to do is, I don't know if you can see, but this edge, alright, it's a border. And it covers the stickiness. We don't want... I'm sorry, I feel like I'm going to cough. We don't want any stickiness. So I'm going to line this up on my grid. And I'm going to take one square off all the way down. And I'm using a T-square to kind of make sure that I keep this somewhat straight. Come on. Oops, I'm cutting the ruler. Now, okay, I'm going to slide that over. Try and get that back lined up with where I was cutting. What is in the way? This rock. Okay, let's get the rock out of the way. Make sure that this is square again. Okay, and continue cutting. All right. So the bottom part's trimmed. I need to trim the top part comfortably within that, and it does, okay? I've got space, and I'm sure you can't see it from the camera angle, but I've got space at the bottom, I've got some space at the top, not a whole lot. Alright, at the top, but only halfway, and the same thing at the bottom. And here's what I normally do when I do this. When I lay the tape down, you want it to overlap a lot. I usually overlap the bottom more than I do the top. So the bottom border is wider, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Right now, that overlap is from here to here. So I take it, I cut it off at the end, I peel it up, flip it over, and press it down. And this covers that tackiness that's on the edge. Okay, I just put a little wrinkle in it, that's fine. So that's a fairly heavy green border at the bottom. I will put a smaller border at the top. There we have it. Make sure it's pressed down well. There we have it. And what I need to do now is I'm matching up from one side to the other my border design. Okay. So I can see that because I want to know where the middle is. and I'm pinching the middle just a little bit so I can see that that's the center. I'm going to be in good shape if I flip this over, and that flips over past the center, so I definitely need to trim some of this off, but I'm really not going to trim that much. If this is the center, I think what I'll do on both of them is probably trim, and that one, yeah, I'm just eyeballing it, and to make sure that I've got it, I'm going to trim to the second strip of tape, the second strip of green tape that I've got right there on each end, and that should give me plenty. Now I'm going to go, when I say trim to the second, this is one, this is two, there's an overlap. I'm going to trim, and we need to do the same thing. We don't want the sticky end, so we are going to trim up that end. I think the last time I did the top last I did, and this time I didn't, but that's okay. So we're going to put some tape down. I want to work on the right side. Put some tape down. I'm looking, yeah, this is still going to be covered. There we go. And we want a little bit on and a little bit off. It doesn't really matter how much. I am trying to cut it somewhat close to the end. Okay. Flip it over so you don't have sticky. Okay. And then by doing that, we are going to have to tape up this part again. But any tape just sort of reinforces it, so do the same thing on this side. Put a piece of tape down to cover the sticky. I just need to fold those panels in and tape them. And I'm folding it so a little bit of that cover shows on the inside. A little bit of the front cover is going to show on the inside. And that's my guideline. Sorry. Starting where I see that the inside is, I look and I see it's right there. I'm going to line up with the border. Make sure it's straight. Tape it down. Okay. Yes. I'm going to cut that off. Okay, and here is my new book cover. It fits very nicely. It's not going to, the book's not going to flip out easily, but I said I would give you the that's going to be 17.5 inches long. And not quite, it's about 7¼ inches wide for the finished piece. So that's it. that is the bookmark. I mean, not the bookmark, the book cover. And I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like and a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos.